So this video is going to cover the creation of an email one-step in the desktop client and also how to do that in the administration client too, as well as what the particular settings are for each email and the addition of the email one-step to the action pane for that object. So I'm going to start off in the desktop client. The first thing that I'm going to do is create a new one-step. So if I were to create under the user association, just so I can, or scope, sorry, just so I can not interfere with anything else, just so I know where I'm doing it. I'm also going to do it under the incident association. So this is going to be a one-step for an incident. So I'm just going to call it the incident send an email template. So in here, this is our one-step. Now, obviously, we can choose what to do here, but for now, I'm just going to be sending an email. So I'll just select the send an email option from the common actions on the left and bring it in. In here, it's important to note what each of these buttons do. The most important one is going to be up here, where you can choose to hide or show the from field. So we're just going to choose to show the from field. Typically, it'll say from whatever your default email address is for the system. But in this case, we're going to be using the expression. So I just right click and choose expression and choose system state email. So you can find that by pressing browse, going to global, and then it should be here. This is the incident one. There's also one under the none association up here. So it's the same one step, just with a different association. I tend to use the none association more. There's no difference in terms of what they look like, but the none association is more of a global one. So I'm going to choose the system state email there. And then I'm going to say who I'm sending this email to. So in this instance, I'm doing an incident. So I want to be sending it to the customer. I might want to also be sending it to the owned by user. But in any case, I still need to create a new custom expression for this. So right click expressions, new custom expression here. And here I'm going to choose a case statement. The reason for this is so that we can separate whether or not the system is in development or in production. So if the current system, if I just click the value, go to stored values and choose current system, which you can get by going to browse and then finding current system just here. If I choose current system here is equal to dev, then I want to be sending this email to the development recipient mailbox. So I'll choose stored values again. There's current system dev email recipient here. It's just remembering what I've put before. But just to find that again, you just press browse, and then it's just here, current email, custom system dev email recipient. So I'm going to put that in. So in case the system is in the development environment, all emails will go to the dev email recipient. What you can do as well is put the production email, the one that you actually want to send it to, just in the default settings here. I don't particularly like to do that just in case dev was spelt wrong. What I would rather do personally, if I just remove this, is create a new case statement where the current system equals production. So that ensures that the current system stored value has to equal production before it'll go up to the place that it needs to. Otherwise, it won't go anywhere. So I'm just going to choose the custom display name here. Click OK. So that's my custom expression. If you want to, you can make it a little bit easier to understand. So for example, customer display name is not development. Simple way of putting that in. Now you can create this into a stored expression, and there are some already built for that, but a lot of the objects won't have them. So it's important to know how to create these. If you want, you can always convert it to a stored expression by pressing this button here. This is only available in 9.6 and above. Before that, you will need to manually create the stored expression and then put it in afterwards. So for CC, I'm going to leave that blank. Another thing you could do, obviously, is to put in a system function for your own email. So that's current user email, just so it's CC'd to yourself if you want to do that. For the subject, I'm going to go, this is a test email template, and you can make that subject, obviously, whatever you want. This little section here is for determining the content of your email. So I'm not going to be putting too much in here, but what I will do is I'm going to click this little magnifying glass just up here. This is going to open the editor, the full email editor, which is just a little bit easier to use than that small box there. So one thing that we do like to do is to put a table in, just with one column and 3 rows or 4 rows. Doesn't matter how many rows you choose to put, but just a few. The next thing you can do, this just keeps your email sort of the right width, so it scales long in the page rather than going across the screen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this down a little bit, and in this particular option, I'm just going to choose cell color for the selected cell, and I'm just going to choose a custom color, just so I can differentiate between the header and all that sort of stuff. It is good though I'm going to use a blue, I think. It is good to copy these from your existing templates if you can, just so you don't have to keep resetting them up each time. The next thing I'll do is I'm going to center it, and then I'm going to choose a new font. So I'm going to choose the text color of white. I'm just going to get this roughly centered. So I just press the Shift and Enter keys to center that. Bring it down a little bit more just so it's correct. And now I've got white text, so I'm just going to choose the incident type, and then a space, and then a hash, and then the incident ID. If it doesn't come up in white again, you might have to change it. So just choose text color here, and it changes to white. You may also want to make this a bit larger, so it's a bit different from the rest of them. So I'm just going to choose a couple of different options here, make this size 16, and bring this down a bit more. So now I have my header. The second section is usually where I put the information. So in here, I'm just going to say hi, and then I'm going to do the customer name, and a comma, information here. And then I often go regards or kind regards, and then I have my signature in this third section here. So what we can do for signature is if you have a stored value for system email signature, then you can choose that. If not, then you'll just have to copy in, if it's a different one. Again, this is in the global section of the stored values manager. I'll just choose that system email signature there, and I'll make that a little bit smaller. So now I've got my signature in there, I've got my information, kind regards. What I might also want to do is make it the first word of that customer's name. So instead of using their full name, I'll just choose their first name. So I can double click this, and it'll bring up the modifier. And in the modifier, I can just click add, modifier, first word. So that'll give me just the customer's first name. So if their name is John Smith, then it'll just bring up hi John. And then you can type in your information there, and then press send, and then that will fire your email. So after pressing OK, that'll bring up your email there, your email template. The next important things to do up here, you want to make sure that you're not attaching to the recipients, just because it might take up a little bit more space. If you do want to, you can, obviously. I don't believe that's enabled out of the box, but it is enabled in a lot of the out of the box emails. So this won't be checked when you create a new email, but if you copy an existing one, an existing email template, then it probably will be checked. So you just have to go in and uncheck that. The next thing you might want to do is let user edit email before sending. So I'm going to check that just there. So instead of immediately sending that off, we can make sure that it pops up the box for us, and then we can type in the information that we want to type in. If you have something that you just want to send off immediately that already has all the information pre-filled, then you don't need to check that, and you can just run the one step and it'll send off that email for you. You can also choose to add attachments to the message. Now you can choose these from a custom file name. So if you have a file on your system, a lot of the things that we often do is to write something to a file as an attachment, or to run a command that will run a program that will put a file onto our system, such as a report. And then by pressing this button here and choosing custom, we can determine the file name of that report and include it into that email. That just saves some time if you want to do that, but you might not always have the file in the appropriate location. So you might want to click browse, etc. Once I've finished that, I'm just going to click OK here. I now have my incident email template. So if I run this, obviously I'm not in the incident, so there's nothing for me to run it against. But if I do go into an incident, just any incident, so this is just a generic incident here. So if I just choose to run this incident now, send an email template, it'll then bring up my email template here. So I can see that it's from the account that I've said, which is the current system stored value. And then it's also going to myself and my colleague Ben, just because we are the development recipients in this particular system, and the system is in dev, so it won't go to the customer's display name, email address at this point. Again, the subject is in there, and all this information is filled in, and this is our signature that we had from before. The option to attach to current incident history is also in that one step, and you can tick and untick this if you want to. Same with the attach to recipients. It's the same option as it is in the one step there. So if I just edit this one step, I can see that there is a attach to current incident as an option as well. So generally I would leave that enabled because it is always good just to keep a record of all the emails going out from your instance. So the next part of this video will be discussing how to add that email into your action pane on the left. So if you have noticed before in the administration client, you may have an action pane on the left here. So if I just go to settings, edit defaults, task panes, menu search, choose default. I actually don't have an action placeholder in this system, but if I enable that, then on the left here, you will have an action pane. So I'll just enable that for now, click OK, and then I'll close and reopen the desktop client and come back. So I've since closed and reopened the desktop client, and as you can see now, I can see instant actions on the left here, which was enabled by using the task panes option here to add the action placeholder. To add our particular email to this section, we just need to create a new blueprint. In the administration client, go down to the object we're working in, which is incident, click edit actions, make sure that we're on the current view of default first, and then click edit actions, choose the task pane, and then you can see here the same task pane options that are available there. So in this case, I'm going to want to add a folder, and this folder name is going to be email templates. And within this folder, I just want to add the one step that I created in my user folder. A good thing to do is to move that template into your blueprints folder as well. So you can do that by just copying and pasting it into the blueprints folder. So I'm going to put it into the notification emails folder, click paste, and then click OK. So that's going to bring in your email, the same email, into the blueprints folder. So you can publish it with this blueprint and then make the change in the same action pane within the same blueprint. So I'm just going to make this send an email. I'll click OK. And we're going to publish this blueprint, and then we're going to come back and reopen the desktop client. So I've since published that blueprint and reopened the desktop client. So now I'm going to search that same incident again. And here I can see that now I have the email templates option, and I can choose to send an email, which runs that same one step. So for more information on how to edit the task pane, you can just refer to our other video, how to task pane. I hope this helps. Cheers.